Hello guys and gals, it is me again, Jeffrey Samursky, and today we're going to do another Creepypasta reading, and I'm sorry if I missed a few months of this. I'm gonna try getting back into the routine of doing Creepypasta videos, of reading the stories as well as making adaptations in some formats. But anyways, we're going to be doing this Creepypasta, which is called Thomas and the Jet Engine, alternate ending. Now, I'm going to read this word for word. It's pretty interesting, and I kind of want to see what it's all about, so let's get to it. Thomas and the Jet Engine, alternate ending. I often question myself about why I go along with the things I do, ultimately making it hard on myself when I would choose a safer path and avoid it altogether. But this is one of those moments where I seem to remember, but in a weird and uncanny way. Around 2006, the newly created YouTube was still quite young for video sharing and reposting old episodes of popular and nostalgic kid shows. Of course, that didn't stop people from doing mysterious and questionable yet sus things that would leave others alone with their thoughts. Anyways, I'll get to the point. So I was feeling nostalgic for a show that I used to watch a lot on PBS Kids when I was little. That show was Thomas and Friends. The show about talking engines doing work on the island of Sodor. There was no other show like Thomas and Friends, at least back then in the 80s and 90s. As the fans claim now being nothing more than just another show for the most youngins, if you count quote all engines go standards. I was bored one day and just scrolled through the list of videos about Thomas that I could watch. I clicked on a episode that I recognized from when I was younger. It was the episode where James worried about a balloon taking the engine's job at transportation away from them, only for him to realize it was nothing to worry about, since it did not jeopardize their work. You could rip on me for not saying the specific name of the episode, but I paid very little attention to it, nor did I know what it was called, did I care at all about it. This episode wasn't a favorite of mine anyways, plus the video quality for each episode I had found was either bad quality or just had a very small video box and pitched down audio to prevent the copyright. Ain't that beautiful for YouTube? I resorted to scrolling through the comments to see what they had to say. Most of the comments I read were not any better. Most of them just seemed to be written by people under the age of 10. I just kept scrolling for a bit and I was about to give up and find another reposted episode to watch until I came across something that caught my eye. There, a isolated looking comment from everything else was a link to a website along with a short sentence message about it. The comment read, "How would you like to watch some episodes of your favorite Blue Engine? Just click here and get the best quality videos you have ever seen. You don't need to spend a penny on it. A website with high quality Thomas episodes for free?" Now, if that wasn't suspicious at all, then I don't know what is. And me being a gullible 19-year-old youth, I stupidly clicked on it without a second thought, though I knew better than just to open a random link by some rando online. My excuse was that I was curious about what the link was really about and wanted to see if this person was bluffing or not. Turns out he wasn't lying at all. The website in question had tons of episodes that for some reason only had the first 6 seasons of Thomas and Friends, and most of the videos were indeed high quality. The only exception being the video had low brightness, and the contrast of the video looked like it was cranked to 11. The only other catch was that I had to download a ad blocker real quick just because of how many Trojan ads popped up on that site. But ignoring that, it was surprisingly well made for a website that seemed to be frozen in time. The question is, why were the 6 seasons only available? What about season 7? I checked about the website's about page, and the date that was last updated was exactly October 11th, 2002. What made it even more off-putting was that the site described Thomas as a complete series and the conclusion to the well-loved franchise. If you're somehow not aware of why this is strange, the reason why that's the case is because I said Thomas was having a 7th season, and later on a CGI incarnation meant that it didn't get canceled at all. I mean, it's outdated and I wasn't expecting anything too much from it. However, I was wondering one thing. What made the creator of the website claim that the show was completed to begin with? Was the show meant to end on the 6th season? Like, what happened around that time that pulled the show from airing? Just question after question, I had a new interest. I clicked on the 6th and quote-unquote last season on the page and scrolled all the way down. It feels like I'm exploring something huge, going deep into the mystery the further I go down the page. Eventually, it stopped at the bottom of the page, and the last episode that appeared on there was called Thomas and the Jet Engine, end quote. Another episode I vividly remember from my childhood, though I don't remember exactly what happened in this episode to begin with. I figured I would click on it and see what the website creator was talking about. Plus, I can rewatch an episode again to refresh the memory. Perfect, I thought to myself. I clicked on it and got up from my seat to grab a small snack from the fridge while the video was up and ready to go. I was nearly halfway to the kitchen when I was caught off guard and startled by the opening theme song playing throughout the house, and it was unnecessarily loud too. So loud that if you were outside the house, you would hear it loudly echoing. I beelined to my room and paused the video before collapsing into my chair and breathing a sigh of relief. Screw the snack, I wasn't feeling like eating it after that. Now, how did the video just play all by itself? Either that it had the same kind of feature YouTube had when it was playing automatically upon clicking on the video, or I must have clicked play while it was loading before I left the room. I decided to go with the video automatically playing scenario as it made more sense to me. After all, I don't remember clicking on the video right now as I left the room. I mean, why would I do that when I was getting a snack before viewing the episode? I made sure to turn down the audio on my computer, which I found out was the reason behind it, and skipped over to the part where the episode began. I didn't feel like watching the whole intro again as I've seen it 100 times. Oh boy, this would be totally smart of me of doing so instead of ignoring the suspicious link altogether. Again, I had the excuse that I was curious about the supposed quote-unquote completed series that the website creator claimed, so that was what motivated me to watch. The episode began with Gordon, the big blue tender engine running down the line pulling his express coaches behind him, with a narrator explaining how fast Gordon was and how he was proud of it. Now again, the episode had low brightness and high contrast to them. But there was something else that I saw within the episode. It's barely noticeable, but the video was a bit grainy. It kind of defeats the purpose of the episodes being high quality, but it's better than what I'm finding on YouTube. The scene transitions to Knapford Station, and not all the engines were there. They seemed to be annoyed by Gordon's arrival, all except Percy, who had a cheerful expression on his face. Gordon then spoke up, "I'm the fastest," as the narrator, voiced by Alec Baldwin, replies, boasted Gordon, but not all the engines were impressed. It then shows James and Edward still annoyed as James replied to Gordon, "Speed isn't everything." James said smugly to Gordon, followed by Edward saying, "But being reliable and useful is." Gordon didn't take the comments made by both James and Edward so kindly that they remained boastful about it. Kind of like a smart-ass comment. "You slow engines will never understand." Gordon snorted in a condescending tone, "Because you'll never go as fast as me." The narrator then explained that Sir Topham Hatt was gonna walk up to the engines to, announce the huge surprise. "Hello everyone," Sir Topham Hatt began as the engines looked down at him. "I need an engine to head over to Brendam Docks to collect the jet engine and take it to the airfield." It then showed the engines astonished with a special job, which I should bring up is a common thing in the show that these engines all enjoy. However, Thomas was still annoyed. It wasn't about the surprise, it was about Gordon's boasting. He looked down at his buffers and spoke quietly. "I wish I was just as fast as Gordon so I could prove him wrong," Thomas said to himself. Duck seemed to notice Thomas's comment and replied to him, "What if you took the jet engine to the airfield? That way you could go as fast as him and maybe break his record," he suggested to Thomas. He looked back down at the buffers and thought to himself for a bit. Then Thomas spoke to Topham. "I'll take the jet engine to the airfields," Thomas said to him. The controller looked at Thomas and smiled. "Very well," he replied. "I shall be sending you there to pick it up." Don't rush now." Then, just like that, Thomas puffed out of the station and rolled down the tracks to Brendam. Thomas was shown to be puffing down the tracks, whizzing past 2 stations before veering onto the smaller line, presumably leading to the docks. Upon Thomas's arrival, Cranky was already in the process of unloading the jet engine. The appearance of the jet engine caught my attention, although I couldn't recall its exact details from childhood memories. There was something distinctly off about it, though. It seemed slightly longer than I remembered, but I couldn't be certain if it was just my perception playing tricks on me. Thomas then coupled up to the jet engine and was being extremely impatient, which bothered Cranky the crane a lot. "Hurry up," Thomas said to Cranky. "This is a special, and I can't wait to miss out on it." Next came the moment where things got real. By pure accident, Cranky knocked the switch on, sending Thomas hurtling down the tracks with incredible speed, unable to stop. Thomas was starting to freak out, but soon came to the realization that this was the wish that he asked. Zooming past numerous stations, he caught glimpses of familiar engines: James, Henry, Percy, Duck, and even Birdie the bus. Meanwhile, Gordon proudly pulled the express, proclaiming himself as the fastest, as it shows Thomas catching up to Gordon and passing him, flying into the tunnel with both the engines emerging from the other side. Gordon was surprised to see Thomas, out of all engines, overtaking him. Little did Thomas's shock, including mine, that would shortly end. Tidmouth Station was shown as Edward was shunting a goods train on the siding filled with petrol, as the narrator explains. Edward then reversed out of the siding and stopped at the platform. My eyes were already widening as I knew what was going to happen, yet it kept me at the edge of my seat. Thomas was then shown rounding the bend as he saw Edward on the same line, as Edward and both Thomas were panicking as he grew closer and closer. The narrator had stopped, and around that time made me even more worried than what was going to happen. Before Thomas or I could even think what could happen, Thomas veered into the siding, and the sounds of screaming could be heard. Still belonging to the narrator, but the way it sounded was genuinely unnerving to listen to. Thomas flew into the tankers, which exploded on impact and started to twist and shatter like tankers like glass. It wasn't editing, it was like an actual fire that erupted from the tankers. Edward reversed as he watched Thomas fly into the station and knock over the wooden people on the platform. They, along with the station, were now set on flames because of Thomas. The glass roof on the station somehow remained intact, though I could see it was cracked all over and on the verge of breaking. Gordon then rushed into view and slammed on the brakes just nearly inches away from the catastrophe in front of him. Gordon looked horrified at the aftermath and started to sob as the shot panned at Thomas' battered up and really mutilated looking face. Again, the sobbing belonged to the narrator, which I must admit. For a guy that has a taste of horror, this was just hard to listen to, and it wasn't one of those crappy Lost episode videos. All I'm seeing is this was made by Britt Allcraft and the team behind the show. What kind of Thomas episode was I watching at this point? It was now obvious on what the creator of the site was talking about, but this was not at all what I expected. The last scene showed the Scrapyards as the theme song played on what sounds like a creepy music box as it panned out on every single rusty prop steam engine. It then showed Thomas's model. He was all rusty and lacked a face, let alone his smoke box. Large punctured holes in the model were seen on both the boiler and on the dome, with part of the running board and the whole funnel gone as well. It looked like someone ripped them completely off the model with ease. It was just, how do I even describe it? This was just heartbreaking to see a childhood character getting killed off, at least for me. The shot faded out into the darkness as the credits began playing. The credits were the same for the most part, and Thomas was shown to be alright, as if nothing happened. The credits that scrolled on the screen, however, were different, as it read this. Quote, "With all I've been through since the premiere of the movie back in 2000, I've reached my breaking point. Not only have I lost my job as the main creator of the show, I was put behind the scenes for smaller roles as new people began to work on it and ruin the charm about Thomas the Tank Engine. I, along with most other people who helped make the show, are not at all happy with this, and we decided to kill off the series as payback. I hate to do this as much as I like the show, but these idiots had to ruin it, and neither of us had any other choice but to play along. I apologize to anyone who likes the series, but somebody had to put an end to it before it's too late." End quote. Britt Allcroft. The final layer of text appeared on the screen one last time with neither the Ghislaine nor Hit Entertainment logo appearing. Only the old Britt Allcroft logo, and that was it. "They made me like this," end quote, as it faded out. The video was now over. All I could do was just collect my thoughts and try to process what I just saw. I wasn't horrified, nor was I tearing up anymore. I was just in disbelief. I know it's an episode I vividly remember, but this was obviously not at all what I remembered as a kid. I was still on YouTube and decided to reply to the guy of what I saw. However, the page was refreshing the video. Before I knew it, I could no longer find the comment I saw. It just vanished without a trace. Nor did I have a screenshot of it to prove it. There's just no point in trying to find it again. Thankfully, I was still on the website and decided to put it on my bookmark. And then I opened the search bar and looked up the episode on YouTube and then clicked on it for a random episode, not caring about the quality of it, and watched it side by side, and I noticed so many differences compared to the so-called finale. However, I didn't really feel like listing all of them, so here's just a few differences I spotted. The first one being Sir Tom had directing Thomas alone to transport the jet engine to the airfield, a task to which Thomas consented, though surpassing Gordon wasn't his foremost concern. The second was that during Thomas's journey to the docks, the stations he traversed in the junction to the branch line did not appear in the final cut of the episode. The jet engine appeared noticeably elongated compared to its depiction in the final cut, displaying more details to it with the reduced length. Duck was also absent from the final version, including with the narrator silence regarding him, meaning he would never have suggested taking the jet engine and making Gordon look as stupid as possible. And the fifth was the ending, which was significantly different from the alternate. Instead of reaching Tidmouth Station, the jet engine's fuel began to run out, which caused it to cool down, giving Thomas control and arriving at Knapford in time, where he apologized to Gordon, with the others chuckling at Gordon's expense. I wish I could prove its existence other than the screenshots I provided, but I didn't want to upload the video to YouTube myself and face the consequences against the new owners of Thomas & Friends. There's no other way for me to prove it. I find myself truly perplexed by whatever the hell this was, now fully aware of the show's quote-unquote real conclusion. Each time I revisited an episode of Thomas & Friends, I couldn't shake the thought, that isn't the real Thomas the Tank Engine I knew. He's stuck at the smelter somewhere, dismantled, charred, layered all over, rust, never to see the light of day again. Whew, and that, ladies and gentlemen, was Thomas and the Jet Engine alternate ending. Now, cliches aside, there was no blood or gore cliches, surprisingly, for the most part, which is honestly surprising because this didn't really need that, because using blood like that, like to the point it's just like overused, is just ridiculous. But if this was indeed meant to be the series finale, like, if this was meant to be the original cut of Thomas and the Jet Engine, then after this, the show would have been completely over, with very little to no chance of having a comeback or even a reboot. But the thing is, I don't usually expect to see how people say these things are real or not. I mean, it's just a story. But the last thing I wanted to, put in, like, this kind of steals the story's coffin, like, nail in the coffin. Like, what was the point of Duck being involved in this episode? I mean, he might have had a silent cameo in some parts, but he didn't really have a speaking role in the final cut of the episode, well, the official one. So this kind of proves that the story is fake. But, I have not seen anyone make a adaptation of the Thomas and the Jet Engine, like alternate ending, which seems a little bit frustrating because this story looks pretty nice, judging how it has some screenshots of like Thomas horrified or the jet engine, or even Thomas looking down at his buffers in frustration. It's like, those are things you don't usually see, like, if it was like a lost episode, because although some of the shots, like the jet engine, were shown at the docks, it looked relatively shorter, meaning the pictures did look edited from my perspective. And yeah, that's pretty much it about this creepypasta. Like, I'm gonna try to get more creepypasta videos soon up. My schedule's been kind of busy, so I apologize for that. So, what do you think of this creepypasta? What do you think would make it better? Like, comment, share, subscribe. Yeah, feel free to have the notification bell on for more videos when I post. And yeah, this is Jeffrey Sambursky signing out.